Okay, I think that
Says
button
live.
worked.
You did something. See, it says live.
Okay, let's see if
Five.
the button work.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
You're watching Tanner's Haunted Secrets
on the Outline Network. What they say.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's a secret sound hidden deep within the center of the earth. Until you listen closely enough, you can hear it. And it sounds like razors through flesh. We are merely here to turn up the volume.
This is Maximus Christian Bryant with the Ohio Haunters Association, president, and you are watching Chainer's Haunted Secrets on the Owl Light Network.
And I'll tell you now, it is Wednesday, and we are doing another wonderful episode of Chainer's Haunted Secrets. And I am so excited because we're going to have some pop-in guests, pop-out guests. We have a wonderful Owl Light Network favorite here today. We have Dell with us and Ratatosker. And I don't know what he's drinking already, but he's starting out.
He's got some 99 espresso. I don't know why they call it's espresso instead of espresso, but it's double espresso. I'm drinking coffee, so he drinks coffee liqueur while I do so. But since it's 99, it's 100 proof. So, yeah.
So, absolutely so happy to have you because I didn't know how I was going to entice you to come on this show, but we found something finally. And this episode that we're going to be doing, we're talking about conventions. The reason that we're talking about conventions is because Midwest Haunters Convention is going to be this Saturday and this Sunday, and it is in Rosemont, Illinois. And that is one of the biggest things. You've seen me there, possibly. I help people with booths there. I walk around. I meet and greet people. The reason I'm not there this year is something happened last year, and I'm still taking kind of a year off from that one. But I was at Transworld, and there's so many differences between different conventions. And even though they're haunting conventions, there's differences. And I know Dell's never been at a haunting convention, but that doesn't mean that she hasn't been at conventions. And what we kind of want to do this episode is, if you've never been to a convention, what's some stuff that you really need to think about and what needs to run through your brain? Because you never want to go travel all that way, buy the tickets, look at everybody and just have a big smile on their face and then realize I got into something way past what I should have done. I should have planned this out. And that's what this episode is. We need to plan conventions out. That way we can get the biggest bang out of our bucks. I mean, if you're going to be at Midwest Haunters Convention, Friday night, you get there and you can actually go to a haunted house. I imagine Comic Cons and different stuff like that, you don't have like haunted houses open. But Dell, what's some of the conventions you've been at?
Most recently, I was at a very small con in Grand Island, Nebraska called Tri-City Con. It was really neat. Phil Hester sent me there, and then he ended up not being able to attend. Unfortunately, there was some issues going on with things, but that was a great convention. Very small, very easy to navigate around. Earlier this year, I went to the biggest convention I've ever been at, and that was Planet Comic Con down in Kansas City. You're never going to catch me at like New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con because they're just way too large for me. This one was 70,000 people in a convention hall where there was construction going on. And I found out the weirdest thing from somebody while I was taking a smoke break. Her daughter had worked on building it, like the building that we were in, and apparently it is the hardest concrete in the nation. I don't know why that was a thing, but it was apparently they built it so that they could be driving trucks and stuff over it while they were continuing to build it, and they left it all there. So anybody who was trying to curl up and get a nice place to sleep, it was kind of hard. But my favorite con, and that I'll be going to again this year, is Terrificon. And we don't, there's not haunted houses at comic conventions, but there are special panels and things you can go to. I'm sure there's panels at haunted cons and stuff too. But they have karaoke. There's comic cosplay contests and stuff. So you'll see a lot of cosplayers walking around all the time. Very friendly people most of the time. Go up and say hi, and you can get a picture taken. But you get to meet a lot of the creators and stuff too, and that's what I really find to be great. There's some cons that they focus on getting a lot of celebrity guests in, and they don't pay as much attention to the comic creators themselves. And if you're a comic person, the reason that you're going is so that you can see all the comic creators and get your work signed and everything like that. And then you see all these people who are like, I just spent $400 so I could get in here and see this one celebrity, and that's all that I'm here for. It's like, I mean, okay, if that's what you want to do. You're going to be waiting in lines for hours to get checked in if you didn't pre-buy stuff, if you don't have press passes or something. I saw lines. It took people 4 hours to get up to the door that the day that it opened. And every day that I went outside for a smoke, there were people waiting in line blocks away. But looks like we have a guest on here.
Hello.
Drew has joined us. And Drew, hi.
Hello.
While we have you on, we were going to start real quick. We have Dean in the background.
Oh,
and he's in the middle of doing some stuff, but if Dean's ready, if he wants to slide around, he can let us know he's ready if he needs a second. That's cool too. All right, we're going to pull him up because we have Dean Haspieler, one of great comic book creator, and he's going to give us a little idea of what to do if you are a creator at a con, what to expect, and how to treat creators at a convention.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me on. So I guess there's two ways to answer this question. One is, as a creator, just going to table, that's one discussion. But being brought in as a guest is another thing I could talk about. So do you want me to talk about both, or do you prefer one, or
you can actually talk about the differences between them.
Okay,
if that would help.
Or both, that'd be great.
Sure. So how do I put it? All right, so if I'm going and tabling, just like, hoping to set up a table, usually at Artist Alley, at the bigger conventions like New York Comic Con. I think Dell was talking about San Diego being way too big, and it's true. It's almost, I think some of these cons might be a waste of your time, and sometimes you go there just to be there or to show up. But it's very costly just to show up, to the quote, the party. And I think you know, the hope for the cartoonist that's setting up or even sharing a table to help offset costs is to turn people on to your work or to you, you know, like I never assume anybody knows me, you know. But weirdly enough, like I went into the Manhattan today to go see a play, and the minute I got out of the subway station, a person came up to me and said, Dean Haspiel. And I kind of recognized his face. And I was like, wait, why do I know you? And he was like, oh, we hung out at Asbury Park years ago, and he remembered me. So, you know, I guess I'm not a celebrity, but I guess, you know, if you're into comics, you might recognize my face. And so, you know, there's that, right?
Right.
But the point is that you want to turn new people onto your work, right? And you also want the people who already support and cheer you to swing by the table as well. So you are there at a comic con to sell comics. But as illustrated, a lot of these have become more like pop culture cons, you know? And maybe we need to change the names of these things, you know, except for when they're more of a niche show. My favorite shows I've been going to recently really are Comic Cons, but they're more like independent comic shows, you know? They're not competing with Marvel and DC. They're not, you know, dealing with, you know, who give me a celebrity, you know, like people promoting movies or whatever, you know.
Right.
And as cool as that it is to be in the same, occupy the same space, you know, at first I used to think that there was a competition. And I don't even know if there is, because there's going to be some people that will pay the $400 to get the photo op or whatever it costs, and they may not be interested in the cartoonists who do the niche thing like me, you know. But I've also hopscotched between working in mainstream comics like Marvel and DC, and I've drawn and written a Spider-Man story. I've recently worked on a Superman story a couple of years ago. Like, you know, I've dabbled. If you look me up, I've worked a lot for Archie Comics on the Fox. So I've done mainstream stuff. But the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, I just want to write and draw my own comics, right? For instance, Chess Face is a comic that I crowdfunded recently.
Chess Face is
Comic called
awesome.
COVID Cop, which is very fun, and I'm hoping to do a sequel to that. And we've discussed this on your other show, and you know, the Red Hook is a character, and then Billy Dogman, Jane Legit. But for most people, including you sitting here right now, you've never heard of these comics or these characters, right? These are stuff that are just something I'm doing recently, or I invented in 1995, and I'm kind of revisiting them. And so, you know, it's your job to promote as best you can if you're an artist alley or you've gotten a table at a show. But there's a huge difference if you're a guest of the show, you know, and that's maybe what I want to talk about is to some of your viewers, like, oh, let's say somebody asks you to be a guest. Now, usually that just often means I'll give you a table. You got to get there on your own. You got a hotel on your own or whatever, right? But, you know, when I did Wizard World for a few years, they would fly me, you know, give me a hotel, even sometimes get me a car service from the airport to the hotel, right? And all the, you know, and the same thing from me going from my home to the airport, you know, in LaGuardia or JFK, and then fly to the destination. And that was really important. And I kind of got a little spoiled by that because it felt like, oh, okay, I really am a guest of your show. But it also, being a guest comes with certain duties, right? I love to do panels. So me being a guest sometimes means that you're going to at least do one panel, if not a few, right? Mm-hmm. And it depends on your personality. Some people are shy and don't want to talk, but I'm like, it's a communication form. We're communication artists. We have to communicate our ideas and who we are, right? So you got to buckle down and be able to do that. Don't be so shy. Even if you're naturally an introvert or shy, you got to break out of that. I don't mean try to come up with like the elevator pitch for everything, you know, like to me, that also feels like a little Hollywood. So just be real, be who you are, authentic self, whatever. But I do think when you're a guest, you know, they have the show has expectations of you as well. They're using you to hopefully sell some tickets, right? Oh, so and so is going to be there. You know, I like Dean. I'll go to the show. You know, there's about 10 other people there as well. I don't think anybody's ever going to come to a show just to see me. I mean, that's ridiculous. But there are writers and artists that do that. You know, fans of Scott Snyder, Tom King, or John Romita Jr. or whoever, right? Like there are like people who've been around forever and have sold millions of comics, right? And that's as long as you're keeping it still in the comic show realm, and not veering into the Hollywood aspect, which again also does bring people. So I don't know. I don't know where you guys sit when you go to a show. Like where you go to try to get an autograph and a picture, or do you just go directly to the artists and the writers? But I just think that you have to also be aware as a guest of what you need as well. So I try to ask, if you're gonna let me be a guest, or want me to be a guest of the show, and you want to use me to promote, what are you asking of me? Like, do I need to provide a piece of art or something that you're going to use, or is it going to be for an auction for something? Like sometimes I create artwork for Baltimore Comic-Con, because they're like family to me, and they take care of me. They let me have a table with a bunch of artists. They give me like space to sleep, at the hotel, like, and then they're very good. And so it really depends on the show. There was a show I did a few years ago, and I won't name the show, and it was a fine show, but and it was like, let's just say it was near Detroit, okay? And they gave me a contract. I had never signed a contract to do a show, okay? I was like, why am I signing a contract? And in reading the contract, it said something like, if you come to this show, we will fly you there, we'll give you a hotel, and we'll give you a table, right? And that was about it. And that's enough. Okay, I can work with that. But they said that I was not allowed to do a show within like 300 miles for 6 months near that show. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
You're not paying me. I mean, you're paying me to go there, but you're not like paying me enough money so that I don't have to work for 6 months, and then somehow not, and then 300 miles around, like there are other places I could be going to. Like it was absurd. And I couldn't tell if they gave me like what a friend of mine called it the Doctor Who contract, where like they try to bring a celebrity in, and then they do pay them like $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever the hell their fee is, And I was like, I think you might have given me the wrong contract, So be wary of stuff like that, because those things are draconian and it's kind of silly, And I'm trying to think of any other things, like, I again, sometimes they come with other perks, like when you're a guest, like you get a per diem for food, or again, a per diem to get to the airport and back. Little things like that are super helpful. That way, any of the money that you're making at the table actually becomes profit of some sort, right? And that's the key. So many of my peers who go to shows are at best breaking even, meaning that, we paid for our table. We were able to pay for the table, or pay for the hotel and the table, or the travel as well. If you're lucky, if you're able to sell that much stuff. And to me, that's not a livable way of getting around. So I pick and choose certain shows where I'm going to fully fund it myself and hope for the best. But honestly, I've been trying to go down the track of being a guest of a show, And I guess because I've worked in comics forever, and I have a certain pedigree of having worked for mainstream comics, and then leaning into my own comics these days in what's arguably more of a crowd-funded era of comics right now, and that we have more shows that celebrate that and likes champions the self-publisher. Anyway, that's a roundabout way to talk about some of that stuff. I don't know if you have any questions or thoughts.
What are important things that you keep, as depending on if they're providing stuff for you or not? What do you keep behind the table to keep you surviving throughout the con, and how many breaks?
You like food?
Yeah, like seriously, yeah, because people don't know. We run around at Preparaton and hand out water and stuff, but
it's a great thing to you forget. Sometimes you're like, oh wait, like I know some people who like don't bring sandwiches or snacks or water or anything because they figure, I'll just get food at the con. But most of the time, there might be one booth of just fried food only, And listen, I love fried food too, okay, but that's not really the best way to sustain yourself, especially when it's 2, 3, 4 days in a row. Build into your plan to have some food, you know. Also, I think it's important. What I like to do as a guest is I like to also, especially if it's 2 to 4 days, I like to bring a friend or an ally or somebody so I can walk around and check out the show, you know. And yet have somebody be at my table so that for sales. Excuse me.
Breathe.
Some water. I'll be right back. So
he's absolutely right. I've been a person that goes to these shows before. Mine's always been haunted houses and stuff like that. But I've also been a person that has been a guest with the OHA, and everything is here's this at the booth and everything. And then I've also been one of the people that helped sell everything, which, you know, they bought a ticket to have merchandise there. They're not a guest, so they actually had to fork over the $1,000 or whatever price they've had to pay. And it always seems like you always need that extra person with you. Sometimes it keeps your sanity because you're not going to have constant people coming to see you.
Well,
Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think also it's kind of the way you look at it is it's kind of like being a theater kid. You know what I mean? You could be on the stage, but then when you're working stage crew, it's a completely different understanding of the thing. So it's the same thing and it's the same thing it's a difference between being in the show and being in the audience. So there's a certain kind of majesty there. When you're just a fan, you're going, you're seeing the people, you're doing anything. But when you are a cosplayer, you're dressed up as a character and people are going to take your photo, you know, and such. So there's the attention depending on what the costume is and such. And then if you're working a booth, you know, yeah, you're there, you know, but it's like Dean said, you know, you're focused in one spot because it's your booth. So if you want to wander around, you have to tell people, hi, I'm going to go walk around. Is somebody going to be here to man the booth? Because if there is nobody, you're stuck. You know, so I think the thing people forget is, like for us, when we're at Terrificon, you know, or any con we're working. Yeah, we're having a great time, but we're working. So we're, you know, conducting interviews, recording panels, taking photographs of cosplays. Like we don't actually have a physical one, but we're on the clock. You know, and don't get me wrong, it's not like, oh my God, like, yeah, we're having fun and we're allowed to wander and do whatever, but there are still responsibilities. So I think it's kind of piggybacking on what Dean said, you have to know why you're there. Because once you know why you're there, everything else is crystal clear.
Yeah. No, and nobody likes to talk about all the alcohol and the sex that you know.
Oh yeah, the after party is nuts. Like you definitely no. Listen, Pyle. Afterwards, you have to have cigarettes. You have to stretch, okay, and some jelly. Some KY jelly helps too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and then on top of it, you have to also, you know, you have to you have to know if there's a theme. You got to know if there's a requirement. You got to know if there's a fee. Okay, you got to know the passwords.
There's an extra cost to bring a puppet in.
The NDA agreements, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, you have to know, like, is it a puppet event? Carrie fits right in. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
I do have one more question for Dean, but I got to tell you guys, this was the last time I went to Terrificon. I was so proud of myself because I was going through the airport all by myself. Like, these are huge accomplishments for me. I do things wrong every single goddamn time I ride an airplane. And so I was leaving and I was flying back to Nebraska, and I live out of a suitcase. I room with Drew, but I live out of my suitcase. I just kind of put things back in it. Everything I have is black. Everything. And so I get to the airport. I've gone through. I saw, you know, I was like getting out the last of my Coke Zeros, and I saw some people who just gotten off a flight, and I'm like, I can't take these in. Do you want them? Here you go. Okay. Ta-da. I go through baggage check, and they're like, ma'am, you need to come stand over here.
Oh boy.
We got something showed up when you were standing there. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And a pair of my underwear had ended up inside my pant leg near where my sock was, so I didn't feel it. So the lady's checking me and she goes, dear, where's your purse? We're not going to carry these in front of everyone, you know. So grabs my purse and grabs my black and throws in my purse for me. Like, okay, thank you. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And then they go, ma'am, we have a problem with your bag as well. And I'm like, what? And I had Ratatosker in there. And one of the ways that this guy props up is I'll put a pop can is just the right size for him to stand. Well, apparently when I put him in the bag, I didn't do it on purpose, but he just covered a pop can. So they're like, they zip it up and I'm like, oh, that's just my squirrel. And they're like, so this woman is coming through and she's got underwears in her pant legs and she's got a fucking squirrel. What kind of weekend did she have?
Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
Exactly. You know, I think the other thing being is like, again, because when Carrie was asking me like, oh, you know, you've been cosplaying a long time, you probably have some pointers. And I was like, I know a few things. The one thing is, Dean said, you have to watch your money. Everything will cost money unless it says free on the table. So,
Yes.
you know, and you don't think about it because you're just getting swept up in the moment, the lights, the glamour. Comic-Cons are like little mini Las Vegases. You get distracted by all the glitz, the glamour, the showgirls or dudes, you know, all of the celebrities you see at the craps tables, you know, that kind of thing. And before you know it, you're like, I'm going to get that. Whoa, where's my money? And then, so the thing is, everybody, you need to avoid math at a con because math will literally just fuck you up. You know, you have to avoid math. So the thing is, my butt, go in with $200. You know, the second you pay for something, subtract how much that costs from the 200 you have. If you are getting close to 40, stop. Because that is going to be saved for later for the after con meal, which in my opinion is one of the best parts of the show. Is you
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the social aspect is really key to a lot of shows, especially since so many people, and I'll speak for the creators, are at our tables drawing by ourselves most of the time or whatever. And so, you know, it's great to be around people that are like-minded and can share, you know, this experience together. Recently, though, as an independent cartoonist and living off this, I'm one of the few people I know that are barely squeaking by, making something of a living. And I live in Brooklyn, New York, one of the most expensive cities in the world. And nobody put a gun to my head to make comics or to live here, but I'm a native New Yorker, so whatever. But the thing that I've had to do recently at a lot of these niche shows is like cartoonists tend to want to trade their work with each other, right?
The
and I'm always like, and I'm like, once in a while I might give a hero like a mentor like Howard Chaykin or Walt Simonson or somebody like that in my comic right here. But like I always say, like I'm living off of this right now. I need to make money. So you don't be shy to be honest as a person behind a table, or if you're someone who's doing some kind of performative thing, you know, we are making a living here, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the other thing, Dean, is that I feel like that's the thing, and a lot of people, especially because let's be honest here, get caught like me when I was getting into going to conventions. Like I did love the cosplay angle, but I was there to get my book signed because I'm a comic book fan and I love meeting creators and, you know, saying, oh my God, I love this book. Would you mind signing it? And I've fortunately gotten thousands of books signed, you know, through diligence and hard work. But now it's a lot more expensive. And, you know, I'm friends with a lot of people in what I like to call signer circles. And there's been some grumbling about such things. And, you know, and I'll admit I'm one of them at some points. But then, you know, getting to know more creators and such, you know, we have to remind this is your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you still have rent, depending on your situation, a mortgage or an apartment. You got to put food in the pantry, clothes on the back. You know, you got to be able to brush your teeth once in a while. You know, all these things that cost of living. And like you said, you have a table there. You got to kind of make back some of that money. So
I mean, even as a guest, like depending on And it doesn't matter the person that's coming to your table knows your situation, whether you've been granted a table or been flown there or not. It doesn't matter. Like there shouldn't be no assumption that this is a free for all, you know. And so and speak to I'm sorry, who's the person that you that was posting some messages? I think
Mahana.
I know
We
her.
know
Yeah,
her.
yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
There was some. I think she was saying something about just bring a budget for what you know. Hey, what's up? Only bring the amount of money that's in your budget priorities. I agree with that, but also bring a little bit more because you might find stuff you didn't know you wanted. I mean, that's the point. The point is to be turned on by new stuff as well, you know? So again, I know it costs money, but guess what? The world costs money, you know?
I have this thing where I feel obliged to purchase something from every person that I actually go and speak to at a con. Like I feel like I can't just talk to somebody. I have to buy something. And that's something I want to ask you
I'm going to
somebody
disabuse
behind
you of
the
that
booth.
right now. I'm going to disabuse you of that right now.
Okay.
First of all,
because it's painful to watch her do this every time. Just like, oh yeah, I had to, and then she's like, I shouldn't have done that. I'm like, then why did you do it? He was like, oh, but he was so nice talking to him. I felt so bad. I bought the thing, and I'm like, Carrie, this is Nebraska talking. You are in Connecticut, which is adjacent to New York. In New York, we don't give a fuck.
Well, respectfully, we don't give a fuck. And what I mean by that is like, you know, and for me, I'll be walking down an aisle, and if I have a badge on and someone knows who I am or whatever, they're gonna call me and want me to see their stuff, and that's great because I think that's awesome. Like, oh my god, you know, you want me to see your work, but it never means guaranteed I'm gonna buy it or trade or whatever the hell. It's like what I often do, and this is my advice is like, if you talk to someone, you get into it, and you know you're hitting it off really well, it doesn't equal a sale. I mean, I understand that the person talking behind the table might be trying to work angles in conversation to gain a sale, but sometimes you can sniff that out, right? Versus, oh, we actually really connected. But in really connecting, I can also say to someone, well, you know what? Your stuff looks great. I wish you the best success. I'm still walking around. I got to make my own money right now. Like, and they get it. And yes, there's maybe a sense of disappointment, but I get disappointed 100 times at my table too, the same day, you know, like, so it just is what it is, you know, and like, it's okay to just wish them the best luck. And that's a different kind of currency. There's the one in your wallet, and then there's the spirit of goodwill, you know, and you can be okay with, and that's okay.
So how do you like people to what are the best ways to approach people, and how have you ever had people that are just like are really gruff or something come up to your booth and like get in your face about things, or I don't know if that happens to you or
all kinds of things happen, and you are trapped, which is why it's really great to maybe have a partner at the table, or maybe you've befriended the person next to you and you can like talk to each other about like, if I maybe work out a signal or something, you know, to help, or I don't know. I keep thinking there should be an app on your phone that the minute you see someone you know coming, that's gonna, you know, is gonna be an hour-long conversation, and they're not gonna buy anything, and that's fine. But an hour, really? And they're only gonna talk about their life the entire time and not ask one question about you. We've all had a conversation with this kind of person, right? And after a while, you're like, oh my god, they came here for therapy or something, you know? Like, and I'm not a therapist, but I always thought it'd be cool to build on my phone a button that, like, within 2 minutes of me hitting it, it fake calls me from somebody, you know, so I can be like, oh wait, I got to get this, I'm sorry, and be able to, you know, use it as a way. But also sometimes you're like, after you've done this for so long, you could also be like, hey, it's really great to see you, check out what I have. Oh, this is my newest thing, take a look at that, you know, like, bring it back to the table, take it out of like it being all about them, and make it about you again. You know.
Carrie, we shall use the code now. If you deal with someone like this, we shall call them Claremonts. Okay? We shall call them, because it will be a 3-hour-long conversation about the Iliad of the X-Men. And then, what was the question? So So point being is, this will be a verb. It's like, I'm being Claremonted. I was like, oh God, like
You got
hi.
Claremont.
Yeah, I mean, listen, with all due respect, legend, amazing.
Absolutely.
Good Lord. Like I think if we ever have him on the show, we're gonna be like, so we're just gonna pick one point, like, and go. And it'd be like
And that's
that
it.
SpongeBob meme, 3 hours later.
But it is kind of amazing how he really has worked out how to fix after he left X-Men all the things he hates, and then not only fix it and get to the place he needs to take it, so that he can now tell you the new stories he would tell. And in some ways, I mean, as much as we're kind of making fun of it, it is kind of amazing to sit with a guy whose comic book. I went to the newsstands with John Byrne and Chris Claremont, and I was reading those X-Men's back then. And to be around these people that changed our lives,
I think the best sign of respect is being able to tease and parody. I feel like that's the ultimate sign. I mean, Dean,
I'll tell you what happened to me with Chris when I started to get to know him a little bit.
Oh, God.
I went up to him and I was talking to him at his table, and just like for 30 seconds, and I said, "What are you doing these days?" He's like, "Oh, I'm teaching. I'm teaching now." And I said, "What? The art of verbosity?" And he said, and his response to me was, "Fuck you."
Hey, listen.
He kept it tight. He kept it tight.
Listen, Dean, I don't think you've lived until some comic book creator has told you to go fuck yourself, because that happened to me with Keith Giffen, and I'm still very proud of that. Because R.I.P. that man, the ultimate comic book curmudgeon.
I used Claremontism the other night on a show. John was doing something, and it was the word balloon with Bendis and Tom King. They did a book club, and they were doing Ed Brubaker's Criminal. And I was like, he dropped a bunch of Claremontisms in it, so that later on they could just fly, or he could have an entire another story based on one little buried nugget that was inside, which is what Claremont did. Was there's all these little things that he can suddenly go back and write an entire arc about on something that happened in one panel. He just
totally.
Carrie, I'm sorry. There's a single tear going down my cheek as you say that, as that is the Claremont trope. It's the walking away single tear on the cheek. So
tattooed. Now, before I split, I just wanted to ask Pyle on Friday, so this is more about haunted houses, or
so this show is about the haunted house industry, as in what you think is in September, October, and we just like talking to people. And what we were talking about this time is conventions, because Midwest Haunters Convention is coming back to Rosemont in Illinois this year, and it's actually this weekend. I'm not going to be there this year, so I said, you know what? Let's talk about differences in conventions and the things that you need to really think about. And you guys are opening my eyes to different things. I mean, because I don't see exactly what you guys are talking about, because when we go to our conventions, everything's on display. People that come in, they'll look at stuff if they got questions. There is just so much to take in that people don't have time just to sit there at a booth and talk. And when they do sit there and talk, usually you're finding out more about their haunted house and what they're looking for.
Yeah, but Pyle, but that's the same kind of thing at a con. When you're standing online waiting to talk to somebody, waiting for a creator, you can find a line friend. And those are great, because sometimes you're standing on that line for an hour. And speaking as somebody who has ADD, an hour is like an eternity. So, a lot of it is chance. A lot of it is taking an opportunity. And, I've also been to horror cons. I've worked at horror houses. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But there are some general skeleton rules that apply. Number one. Number one, don't be a jackass. Number two, watch the hands. Number three, if you think it's not going to happen, it will. Number 4.
All that alcohol and sex. I mean,
yeah, that too. Number 4,
that's 3,
alcohol and
right?
sex. Yep. 3.5. 4 if you're nasty. And then, yep, counting. I told you math. And number 5, no matter what you do, comfortable.
There's no sex in the champagne room.
First things, Carrie, that was a golden rule, pun intended. That the most important thing of all, comfortable shoes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Pyle, is this immersive experience type haunted house type thing, or is it a show like? Do you know? I think it's called the Chiller Thriller.
Chiller Theater.
Where it's more like celebrating horror of all kinds, not just.
You're talking about in New Jersey, Chiller Theater.
Yeah.
You're talking about like Whorehound. That talk about movies, and this is like haunted houses. Like, I paid the money. I'm going to go through the building, and they're going to have animatronics, lighting, and actors come after you. This is the entire industry of that. And
so they're getting together at a con and promoting their haunted house, as it were.
The conventions usually are ones that people that work at haunted houses or own them go to the shows to see what new products are coming out. St. Louis, Missouri has a convention. It's called Transworld, and Transworld is actually Halloween along with a Christmas show mixed with a escape room show, all mixed together. And that is the biggest haunted house convention in the world in St. Louis.
Wow, man. I never even knew about this. I mean, I knew about like a horror convention that are classic, which is adjacent to comics, but the actual, like, I guess, do they also create products that you could use in your horror house? Like,
yes,
I don't know, a chainsaw or a mirror that does something, or a hose, or.
One of the things that last year at Midwest I came across was called Haunt Saw, and this is a brand new electric chainsaw that he's actually been able to put switches in there that when the blade hits the ground, it makes a different sound, and it has perfect idling up and idling down. And if you're an actor that runs a actual chainsaw, this is the closest one that I have found to really, really mix with it. So this is where you go and you find this type of stuff. They also have Let's Scare Cancer. They have a booth there that is a fundraiser for haunted house actors or staff members that found out they have cancer. And that's one of the big ways with them too.
Wow.
So we absolutely...
that sounds fascinating to me. I was just saying, one of the last things I could talk about when you're a guest of the show is, and like at Terrificon last year, I had access to the green room being where like the comic book guests also shared, at least in this convention, the same as the celebrity guests. So I was hanging out with like Eric Estrada and the guy who plays Spock on the new, Star Trek, and like all kinds of cool stuff like that. And it was just fun to be considered that I too, as a person who creates, like, actors, but I'm a writer, artist, that we would share the same space and be able to mix it up and have conversations. So, it is cool. And you get to be, I get to be a fanboy myself, which is a lot of fun because it's energizing, you got to still be a fan, even when you're making this stuff. It's important to still, access the fan inside of you, because that's kind of one of the, you can become a professional, but one of the reasons why we do what we do is because we love it so much,
Right.
Absolutely.
Unless you're Keith Giffen. He fucking hated his job. Why are you drawing? Because I have to make money. I'm not going to go see the goddamn movie. I don't have any interest in it. This is just a fucking job.
No. Carrie, you're missing what it was. It wasn't that
wonderful,
but it wasn't that he hated his job. He didn't like going to panels, because when people would come with questions like, "Oh, what was this?" It was like, "I wrote that 30 fucking years ago. I don't remember."
I don't remember.
That is very much Keith Giffen flex.
So speaking and then maybe I'll leave on this Keith Giffen little thing, but
Go
I was
for it.
offered a script to draw Justice League Adventures or something like that, and like Batman animated TV show, there was Justice League Adventures. So I get the script, and it's written by Keith Giffen. And the thing is, when he wrote the script, he did not know who the artist was. It was in the drawer for an inventory issue, as it was what they would call it, right? So that they would have a comic ready in case someone was blowing their deadline. Then they would have a comic ready to shove in the schedule, right? So he had written this inventory story, and as I'm reading it, knowing that he didn't know who the artist was, but he was such a proficient artist himself and storyteller, it was perfectly written. I totally knew exactly what he was asking for, and then I would add my flair to the layouts and the storytelling and whatnot.
Right.
But it was like such an incredible document. I didn't talk to him, and I didn't need to talk to him. Because it was all there. And then years later, when I met him, I was like, I drew one of your stories. And we walked around a little bit, and he was half a curmudgeon, but the other half, I could see there was something about him, like it was a little bit of an act. And I've worked with famous curmudgeons, Harvey Pekar, Keith Giffen, but when you know them, they have hearts of gold, So anyway, I hope that helped answer some questions about in terms of guests. I don't know how that helps maybe with the haunted house thing, but actually, I do think the important takeaway is this: if you're invited to be a guest, you might at first think, oh, thank you so much for just even giving me a table or whatever. But remember to ask for what you need back too, and sometimes you don't know what you need until you go to a show and you're like, oh my God, I don't have any food at the table, or I need somebody to hang out with me while I go run to the bathroom, or whatever, like just kind of like just really basic stuff, You forget that sometimes, or just Sharpies to sign a comic book with, like you forget these things, or a stand to hang stuff up and that kind of thing. So anyway, just like remember to be able to ask for what you need. What were you gonna say, Friday?
I just have one thing before you go. Thank you so much for giving my dad and I so much to share and to read.
Oh, well, that's really kind of you. I mean, I appreciate that.
You very much for being in the industry you're in.
Thank you so much. And I love your background, unless you really are in a cemetery.
No.
This is at a cemetery of a loved one on the way home, but also my other show is about Corpse Garden Chronicles, and we talk about cemeteries, we talk about death and dying, and I want people to know that it's a normal thing and you're not alone.
Oh, and I'm dealing with, we all deal with this stuff, especially the older we get, the more it happens. So
yeah.
All right, guys. I don't know how I get out of here. Oh, I just leave studio. Good to see you. Thank you for letting me, rattle on a little bit too much, and keep it going. We'll talk later. All right.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
Have a good night.
Bye. You too.
Thank you, Carrie, for that.
Absolutely. And
Dean is a doll. I just asked him if he could answer some questions, and he's like, well, I could pop in for a few minutes. And I was just like, aw.
I wish my dad was still alive, so I'm be like, it's the guy that drew your comics. You have to say.
There you go. But but like I said, cons, like all of them, it's just basic rules. I always say it's not really sometimes the con that's the issue; it's the people attending. So, but again, how do I say this? It's kind of like high school rules. Just they are who they are. So just let the bullshit just right over you. Someone's being a jerk, you're like, all right, cool, you go be a jerk. You'll get thrown out eventually. Within reason. And you can ask Carrie, because I'm usually like her tour guide through cons. She's like, what is that? I'm like, I know what that is. What's that going there? I know what that is. It's that. She's like, can you slow down? No.
So
he drags me. At
the conventions you guys have been at, is there any areas that they basically call the chill out area that people get overloaded? They sit down and
so it depends on the convention, because there are cons where they do have areas where you like usually, correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but usually eateries will have chairs and whatnot. I mean, at Terrific Con, it's carpeted. So especially near like the entrance to the con stuff, people are just sitting down, chilling. They're just yeah, it's like a garden they plant, man. You
An
know what I mean?
outside area where you can go have a cigarette, sit at a table, or it's nice there because it takes place at the Mohegan Sun Casino. This will be their 10th year in a row being there. And so there's topiary and shit out there. You can sit on like a bench beside some trees,
It's really great.
Or at Planet Comic Con, and it's in a casino. So if you get overwhelmed, you can go out into the casino area or some of the soft benches that are outside of the con to chill out. When I was at Planet Comic Con, like I said, it was the hardest concrete ever. And people were just kind of laying around there, but they left a space of about 15 feet between the walls and where all the booths, the backs of the booths were started. And they lined it with chairs so that people could sit there, or else all the areas they had this company called pop-up lockers so that you could store your stuff and not have to carry it all around. And that was a big area for people just laying down, catching their breath. There's usually game rooms for practice games that like, hey, we're bringing this design. Some games will be like stuff that people are trying to experiment with. Some will be like games that you already know, and they'll like run little campaigns of like a D&D adventure or break out some stuff. I helped play test a game while I was there. I spent like 3 hours sitting at somebody's table helping them work out the logistics. And I'm one of the people who is good at finding if something is broken and exploiting it and showing them how, like, you might want to fix this because look what I just did. I threw the entire game off with one move, or something. But with those, you want to make sure that they aren't being used already, because, always ask, is this table open? Because if there's going to be somebody who wants to set up and, be doing a game in a little bit, you're going to get booted out. So you might as well find somewhere better.
And the other thing that's important is, especially if you're working a table, know your neighbors. Say, introduce yourself, just be like, hey, remember names. That's important because you can only get so far with, hey, guy, what's up, girl? You know what I mean? And then you just wait till someone says, that's right, Janet. Jake down, so, and
if you find kind booth people, they might let you sit down for a second or two, as long as you aren't bringing a tribe of people with you.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, mind if I crash for just a second and have some water? It's like, yeah, go ahead.
But what Dean said is true. It really helps going with crew. And when I say crew, I'm talking like not like a team, like Avengers. I'm talking like One Piece. So it helps having a crew. You have your people that you share in the cool moments with. You got your inside jokes. If you need to split off, it's like, okay, let's sync up in like an hour. You know what I mean? It helps because also it's sometimes fine going as a lone agent because you might meet new friends. But that's why, again, hydrate, comfy shoes.
Yeah, Jenny put together some slides from some of the stuff too.
Yeah, hydrate, comfy shoes, watch the money, know your friends, watch the hands. Very important. Always ask. Yeah, always ask for a photograph, no matter what it is, and just be cool. And I will also say this, another good one. Always show your appreciation to people in cosplay, because a lot of times some people, and Carrie knows this because she's hung around me enough, I'm always like giving props to anybody whose costume I know, because I've been the one who everybody will take a photo with, and then I've worked hard on costumes and I barely get any attention. And it is kind of soul crushing when you work hard and you kind of want a little recognition with someone who's like, hey, cool. So
Drew does Deadpoo, and it's awesome, but that has to be like How much does that costume weigh?
It is,
Because
no,
something with Haunter
no,
conventions,
it's
you
not.
guys.
It's not. No, Carrie. The weight of it is not. It's not
But
relative.
it's also
Yeah.
furry. Yeah, that's what.
Like literally, I now kind of understand how furries are because I have been in a fuzz suit.
Oh boy.
But in my case, I bring joy to the Disney children instead of, okay, well that's okay, And it's actually funny. One time, Ange my girl made a joke, and I actually hugged a furry because she thought I was terrified of them. She was like, "Well, we're gonna nip this in the bud," and I'm like, "God damn it!" I was like, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Well, I thought you were afraid." So I was like, "Ange, that works for rock climbing and sharks. This is different."
My across the hall neighbors just gave me. I'll have to find the thing if it didn't fall down. They just started the first furry convention in Nebraska.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
Indeed, it's just Animal Planet all over there. But overall, the most important thing is you just have a good time. You know what I mean? Whether you're there to comic creators, whether you're there to meet some celebs, whether you're just there to just shoot the shit. But know why you're there, because personally speaking, I never really understood people who will just spend the money just to hang. I'm like, yeah, I can do this for free. Convention tickets are expensive. And sometimes what you pay for that, you could spend on a really nice dinner or food that you could have for your friends over. So, like, don't go convention hopping unless there's a good reason or you got that team. And I know this because I spent an entire year with a group of people. We went to so many conventions on the East Coast, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. But it was very expensive.
So, do you have like a group of people that you don't see until you get to the convention?
Sometimes I kind of do what I call a cosplay Bill Murray, where I just don't really tell people I'm showing up, and then I'm there, and then they're like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Hey, take a photo," and then I just whisper in there, "No one will ever believe you," and then just disappear. No. I personally speaking, because I used to do like, "Oh, I'm going to be at this con," and sometimes I'm sorry, I like the element of surprise. I like not knowing who's going to be there, and then I see people who I haven't seen in a while or everything. I'm like, "Oh, hey!" And yeah, there are some times I'm with people, but I always tell people, "Oh, that's another one. Make sure your cell phone is charged. It is really easy." And then on top of it, if you're with people and your cell phone is dead, how are they going to find you? With a ghost phone? Huh? No.
So one of the things that someone actually did at one of their booths at one of the haunt conventions was they actually put a little sign that said, while you're here checking out our stuff, charge your phone.
Genius.
And it was very interesting because these guys had no one coming up to them, and now they have like decent amount of people. And it's very interesting how people figure out our haunt conventions. We want you to touch things. It is a absolutely go in there. We want you to feel how the stuff feels that you're going to be bringing to your haunt. We want you to look at the werewolf that he's all right there. We want you to pull it back, look at the framework on it. This is one of the big things about the haunt industry. We are very, very...
Kyle, I just need to say thank you for explaining it a little further, because in the beginning I was like phrasing.
Well, there's a running joke in the haunted house industry. It's when we go to a haunt to go look at another person's haunt, there will be touchy-feely all the way through. And we will make it as dirty as possible because we want to see how you made it and how I can take something like that and bring it to mine.
Listen, I just need to say this. There better be some good music on if you're getting a little touchy-feely. Like, I better... You're doing that, I better find $1 bill somewhere in my costume. You know what I mean? just checked in with a little note. Thanks for the memories. You know,
for the people that actually wear costumes to these, you don't find it at Trans World. People just walking around in costume as much. That is usually a East Coast or a Midwest haunters convention. Those haunting conventions are great for people bringing their costumes in. And last year, there was a guy that actually modified his entire suit with a Froggy Fog portable fog machine, and he actually looked like it was blowing smoke out of infected pores.
Well, okay, first things first, genius. Also, that's right up there with the genius Carrie cosplay that Miss Sanders saw this year at which con was that, Carrie?
That was Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. I'm gonna pull that picture up real quick to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As a horror movie fan and just general cosplayer, I was like, wow, that is fucking clever. Like you sent me that photo personally. I was like, she wins. That's got to be top 3 at least.
Yeah,
am I right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can only imagine seeing it in person. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you see some of these costumes, and they are immaculate. I mean, I used to feel the same way about some people at horror cons. I mean, the attention to detail, the love, the character. I think the ones that would creep me out was like, I don't know what you are, but I need you to stay away. You know? But I think the funny thing is that every horror con I go to, I'm like, why are there little children here? This is not the place. Like, this is the place where nightmares are bred. Can we not? Because then you see, look at that. How?
So I seen that, and I didn't know where this was, but that is actually very, very unique, and I really liked it.
Okay, you see the streamers? I saw her go up the escalator in that, and I thought that it was going to be horrifying. And somebody stepped up behind her and like scooped up and held those up so they didn't get caught in the escalator, kind of like a bridal attendant. Because like
Carrie,
that could have gone so bad.
Yeah, Carrie. Yeah.
Nice.
An undead Penelope?
That is the winner for the kids costume last year.
Pretty good.
That's my darling wife, along with our wonderful puppet that we do not let him be on the show.
Yeah, Kyle, I remember the last time we were at the show. There was some puppet madness, and I was like, okay. This is there's no avenue F here for failure. So let's get right away from here. But one other thing that's very important: be careful of who you high five. Okay, and I say this because, and Carrie can back this up. There are some people who personal hygiene is a very foreign concept. So we already mentioned that. And again, I applaud anybody I saw. Like, I've seen people, they'll spend $40, they'll show up with a cheap thing of Secret, and they'll just be handing them out. And I have told these people, bless you. You are doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
Yes. Bathe every day of con and wear deodorant.
Every day. Every day. But the other thing that's important is that people do not sleep very well during con. People do not watch their energy. It is really easy to get sick. So think zombie rules. One person is sick, and that is called, and Carrie, I've told you about this, con crud. Yes, con crud. That's not. Yep, had it. It's not a myth. Okay.
Nope.
No.
It's not a myth. So my advice to you, especially if you're at a convention, do not high five people on an escalator. Okay, just going to say that. Watch who you hug. If somebody is coughing and they do not wash their hands with Purell, the answer is we're going to just elbow bump. Okay, there you go. Friday got it. Just hold on. Yep, bump, girl. Yep. And just elbow.
You don't have elbows, but
Yeah, hey, yeah, no, no. No, he has attitude. There's a difference. But it's just there's Pile Friday. There's just a lot of common sense that comes into it, and for every one person who has it, there are 3 who don't. And we do not look down on these individuals, but we do avoid them.
That is why I have common sense classes with my children.
Exactly. So the main thing is, it's like Dean said, just have a good time. Have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
You're there. And then again, the best part is when you're all exhausted, you haven't eaten yet, hydrated, you're sitting at the diner, it's 7 o'clock at night, you're just eating, laughing about shit that happened in the con, just
Get
doing the
ready
thing.
for the booze and sex.
Yep, exactly. Then you're just prepping for the orgy. The after party, the dance, everything. You're getting ready for that other costume, and it's just great. That's just the best thing, is that a con, whether it's you're an army of one or you're with a team, just have fun. Whether you're splattered in blood, wearing a costume, or by God, dressed like a human black hole. Hi, Carrie. Everybody wins. And by the way, one more thing. I just need to clarify. Being her roommate, when she says all black, I've literally nicknamed her suitcase the Void. It's just darkness. She just opens it, and it's just, I was like, and what is it? I was just like, I didn't know shadows came in such lovely arraignments. So just need to say that. But Carrie has also commented that I, as a roommate, am by far the most. Well, I mean, Carrie's told you all the stories, but it's just basically like being roommates with the Flash. Everything is nope, good morning. It's just like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted waking up.
That's funny.
But, oh yeah, it's pretty funny because Carrie's like, why do I do this every year? But I enjoy it. But why?
Because the Drew is wonderful and he is a gift.
I can't. Friday, I appreciate that, but I still think you should save your receipt. And that's just out of just knowing.
2 years, 2.5 years. I've lost the receipt.
Yeah, but you know what? We'll make an exception. We'll give you store credit. But Pyle, you were asking a question.
So at your guys' conventions, you guys have a costume ball?
A costume contest?
Yeah, there are usually party? Yeah, people will be cosplaying all the way through, but then on the designated day at Terrificon, which is the main one that we kind of talk about, it's on Sundays. So some people like Mahana, who is in the chat, she's pretty much a professional cosplayer, and she will wear something different every day. Some people wear this
day.
Yeah, it was so awesome. She kept stopping by our booth as somebody new. It was great. And they save the big ones for the Sunday thing. And you'll have everything from little kids, right? But they kind of have it all as one. They don't have it broken up into children and adults, really. Well, they have the kids parade. And I think they just consider all the kids to be winners. They don't want to like make any kid feel bad. I had a headache so badly because I did the filming of the costume contest, and it took them a long time to decide who the winners were going to be. And this one little duder was dressed up as the Hulk, and he had the like big fists that made noise when you smashed. And he just got up on stage, and for like 15 minutes, his mother did not rein him in, and he was just like running around beating the shit out of the stage. And while they were trying to like confer and decide who was going to do what, and this kid was just having a blast. But I had 15 minutes of footage while we were waiting of this kid just beating the fuck out of the stage and being Hulk and being like, ah!
It's awesome.
So how do they do it with you guys?
So we'll have a monster ball, and everybody has different costumes. It's some of the costumes that you've seen on the floor, and then you have some of the costumes that you haven't seen. Last year at Midwest, there was a entire group of 13 people that were doing something and no one knew exactly what they were doing. And then finally they got there, but they got there a little late and they did not get into the judging, but they actually had every single different character from 13th Ghost. Every single
What?
person.
No
Yeah.
fucking way.
They did a great job.
Wow.
Holy
Yeah.
how good?
They were really good. Even the person that did the child baby was just like running after people, and he had drool and everything running down him.
Yo, I'm sorry. That if I was a judge, like, no, this wins. I don't care what you are. I don't care. That wins. Like hands down. Like no, don't question it. When do you see that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I talked to people, and there was one group that the guy who comes in every year, Drew, that we see that has like, he's all in blue as a barbarian, but he's a video game character of some sort, and he has a crew that comes with him, like an archer and all the different like fantasy role-playing game crew. I can't remember what game it is, but they were like, yeah, the prize isn't enough for us to come in anymore. Really, it doesn't spread out far enough to cover us coming to the con anymore. It's like, are you only playing for the prize? Like,
you know what? Listen,
because
some
that's
people
kind
are.
of unfortunate. I mean, like, that's cool, but you're doing a really cool thing, and you're getting a lot of smiles, and people just adore you. And you could probably, if you had business cards, like do parties, and they probably do, because I think they're probably a professional crew. But you know, it kind of made me a little sad that the way that the one guy was presenting it, or maybe he was just having a bad day, you know, was just like, the only reason I even come here is to try to win the costume contest, and they don't pay enough now. It's like,
but
they don't
Carrie,
have to pay anything.
Carrie, the thing being is that some people, fortune and glory, you know what I mean? Some like I get it, you know, and there are some people that they put a lot of work into their costumes. So when they win a contest and they win money, you get it, you know. But for me, I've done I personally speaking, I never cared. It was always about the experience, the good times, the vibes, you know. So anyway, if that's what they want, then that's what they want. That's who they are. That's who you are. So it's just about, again, once you know why you're there, everything becomes clear, you know? And yeah, so just sorry to hear that, but you know, still here for a good time. You know, and it's so funny that you bring up like the little kids, because there are some great kid cosplayers, and it's always nice to that. You know, I just think the ones that I enjoy are that you have these kids that are just losing their mind, and I'm just like, where's your parents? Can someone reel in the Hulk? Do we have is there a Coulson nearby? Can we just, you know, sun's coming down real low, big guy.
So,
you know,
do you guys do stuff? We bring candy. Leo provides a shit ton of candy.
Leo believes in enticing people to the table with sugar. And I tell him, you have to stop feeding the animals because they will come back. And they do. And the thing I enjoy, having been a teacher, is no matter how old you get, kids still think they're really slick. Like you don't know. And sometimes I like humoring them because I want to be like, oh, did we think somehow that this plan would work, Charlie Bucket? Like I remember one year we had this kid who,
I know this story.
Yeah, I'll tell it again. This kid came in, he took like one big handful. And normally we're like, you take a couple, he took a handful. I was like, okay. And I was like, fine. And then he came back like 5 minutes later. He was like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting this for my brother. So I was like, okay. He tried coming back a third time. I was like, no. Two scoops of raisin is more than enough, my man. Like, respectfully
just
speaking.
handfuls of candy.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, he handfuls, the claw.
Yeah.
Came in, descended upon thee, and grabbed many of the Tootsie Rolls.
It's so fun to see people do it when Drew's at the table because everybody has their own thing, and he'll just be like, "Okay, you can have 2, but only if you promise that you're going to brush and floss this evening."
Excuse
it's
me.
So cute. No,
it might.
It's nice. The parents enjoy it too.
Of course, because I'm if they're not going to listen to the parents, they'll listen to a stranger giving them candy, right? Is that not how that's supposed to work? I mean, Jenny would trust me with her kids. She'd be like, Drew's fine. That might end up going to hell, but it's fine. They'll bring them back. At least 7 pieces are left. I'm like,
to them about their favorite fandoms. You and the turtle will get along fine.
There's a turtle. Have you told Stephen King about the turtle? I'm so confused.
You know what I mean, Ninja Turtles.
I know what you mean. No, I know. Listen, come on. You can ask Carrie. I'm essentially a 6'2" big kid.
Yeah. If you had turtles and you came to our convention, you're gonna have Mr. Cooper hanging with Mr. Cooper. It's gonna be going on. It's gonna be Coop sitting around talking turtles like.
Yeah. Let me tell you the secrets of the ooze. But I think the other thing being that's great is that when you start small and then you expand, it really is kind of like your own personal MCU, like you're Iron Man, and then suddenly you have Avengers. And that's kind of, personally speaking, how Splash Pages kind of was. It was a bunch of us, and then it just kept expanding. And even now, over the last couple of years, I mean, we've had Carrie is now part of the team. The little fuzz bucket over there is inevitably latched on, kind of like a poltergeist. And then you have people like Mahana, who's watching right now, who probably will give an emoji. Who, as I joke, followed the Carrie method. Hi, I'm a fan. And then something, oh, we keep seeing you. Come on the show. Oh, okay, so sure, I can do that.
That's what happened to me. That's the whole reason why I'm here.
But I think it's just really great when you have like a team and people listen to you. And I'm like, this is a horrible idea. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
So what would it be like to have a Ghostbuster in full costume with like proton pack and little thing wandering around a haunt convention with all the undead and ghosts? Like
you mean like the 13 others?
You get a lot of Ghostbusters at haunt conventions.
There's Ghostbusters that come to haunt conventions.
He probably has a bunch of supernaturals come to haunt conventions.
This way,
we
seeing Ghostbuster at a haunting convention is like seeing Deadpool at any other convention.
Okay, Jenny, I'm going to respectfully disagree there. Okay,
I came across like 4 the last convention I was at.
Honey child, hold on. Wait 1 second. First things first. I'm still the realist. Second thing, had to. Second thing, Ghostbusters are always a delight. Everybody knows who we are. There's always one person that acts like they don't, which is always really funny. 2, Deadpool's range from way too in character to just funny. It's either one or the other. They're so annoying that you're like, wow, you are very in character because I don't want you here. Or that's funny. Okay. So I wouldn't say Ghostbusters is the same thing, but
no, I didn't say it was the same.
No. Good. Jen, I know.
Number.
Oh no, I know. But it's the same thing. Like he's talking about supernatural conventions. I was like, I guarantee there's a couple of Winchesters or a Castiel going around just, Sam, get the salt.
So when it comes down to these conventions, Trans World is very interesting because this is the big one, and you pay a lot of money to be there. But the way that they operate is the lower the number, the more intense the show. And we actually, at that show, have a dark to light atmosphere. As in, like, you have the big animatronics, the giant spider. We even have a dark room that all the animatronics.
Wait, stop. Did you say giant spider?
Yeah.
All right, I'm out. Nope, can't do it. You can ask Carrie. Nope, that's where I draw the line. Carrie, I'm gonna go. He said the thing. I can't do it. Okay? I can't, Pyle. I can't do it, okay? Jenny's so much stronger than me. I can't do it, okay? I can't handle the giant. I don't know what Jenny's afraid of, but it's I'll take that.
I've woke up with spiders in my nose.
Okay, cool. So snakes.
I woke up with snakes in my bed.
Okay, Jenny, Jenny, Friday, honey bun. This is not Friday's House of Horrors, okay?
No, but it is Friday's House of Horrors. Scorpions, spiders, snakes. It ends up with a Friday crying.
Yeah, okay, I just want to point out, I'm glad someone said "oh my," because I was just thinking that too. Listen, the thing is, and again, I've been to horror cons. Horror cons are great. I think the funniest thing is that when you have people who are just such good sports that you can just talk, like, I'm a Supernatural fan. If I saw a couple of Winchesters, I know exactly what I would say. You know, it would you're just yelling some random gibberish in a deep voice, or you just put on Eye of the Tiger and see what happens.
Yeah, but he's talking haunter cons, which are slightly different than horror cons.
No, I know. I understand. I understand. I've never been to any of these that he's describing, but having worked in a haunted house, you know, I've heard of them. You know, because the people in the house like to talk. That's the thing people don't know about ghosts. We chat a lot because we're dead.
So the Pyle, going back to what you're saying, there's the cool dark side and the light side.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, the cool thing.
So they actually have an entire section that the animatronics are in a dark area, that they have very limited light. This is how it would see, or this is how it's supposed to be designed in your haunted house. Then you come out of that area, and then you still have dimmer lights, and you start going into the lighter side, which the lighter side contains like your
and then
Halloween stuff that Grandma and Grandpa used to have, like your cute little ghost stuff, your
Grandma and Grandpa,
your escape rooms. There's like 4 trailers that are all designed to be escape rooms. And then you get into another dark zone that is bright because it's the Christmas show. And yeah, it's weird going through that transition as you're like looking at all the blood, the gory, all the fake hands, the disembowelment, and then you start getting into not so gory, and then you get into the people that would be probably at your conventions dealing with like Bloodhound and stuff like that. The ones that have the movie and show stuff. Okay. And then you get into the trap rooms, escape rooms, and small props. And then you get into the Christmas show.
Okay.
If you buy a ticket for the Christmas show, you can get into the Halloween show. It's the same show. It's on the same floor. It's just divided in different areas. So if you say that you're going for the Christmas show and you get through the Christmas show doors and then you start going in and then you're like, there's a hand, like a disemboweled hand. They don't understand that Transworld is that entire show.
That'd be great to have like little old grannies and people who are coming to like pick up some Christmas craft items. And like my aunt is all about like the Hallmark Christmas style thing, and I can see like taking her through that side and then bringing her to the door, and just like she's always trying to get me to watch Hallmark movies, like constantly.
There was a group of people, and I think that this was like a church congregation that went to the Christmas show. And they're like looking at the Christmas stuff. Oh, look, here's the happy snowman in lights going like this. And then they get a little farther in and they're like, oh, look, there's giant inflatables. Oh, look, Froggy Fog. Froggy Fog makes fog that is in like bubbles and crystals and it makes fake snow. Okay, so here's all this. And then all of a sudden you get a little farther down and here's a happy snowman and he turns his head and his face is busted apart. And they're like, oh, it's broke. No, no, you, sir and madam, went too far into the happy world of Halloween. And as it keeps on going, he's like,
no. Pile, there's a song for these kind of things. It's called What's This? Okay?
Yes.
So, you know, that's exactly what those people think. Either when it's on one side, they leave Halloween Town and enter Christmas land, or vice versa. It's what's this? What's this? There's bright things in the air. What's this? You know, it's just I can't believe my eyes. It must be dreaming. Wake up, Pile. It isn't fair. So, point being is, you know, please tell me somebody is Jack. Like, has there been a Nightmare Before Christmas? Nightmare Before Christmas?
There was actually a Jack that came in, and he made his mask and he did everything, and he did such a great job that this guy came flying up to him and said, I would like to buy your design on this mask.
Right.
And he's like, oh, okay. He goes, this looks so much better than in our park.
That's wow. What a compliment.
Well, that's the thing. Now the advertisement for Disney's Jack is this guy's design. Universal Studios goes to this show to buy all their stuff for their Nights of Horror.
Right. Yeah, wow, so, what a compliment, man.
Yeah,
but
so it's a very interesting show to see Transworld. But when you go to Midwest, and I will tell anybody that goes to these haunted house conventions, please go to the smallest one that you can find, then go to a bigger one, then go to Midwest, East Coast, something like that. Then give yourself a little time and go to Transworld. Do not go to Transworld right off the bat. They actually have quiet zones that people can go and get away and get away from the air compressors, get away from all the lights, get away from all the motion detectors. That way they can just unwind for a little bit, collect themselves, and go back in.
Yeah, see that it almost sounds like I don't know that I would survive, just because I'm assuming that there are strobe lights involved in certain areas and stuff
Carrie,
like
you wouldn't do well.
Yes and no, because what they do is they'll have that dark area. You would not be able to go in there because as soon as the animatronics go through their cycle, there will be strobes somewhere in that cycling. But most of the time, it's bright enough that the strobe isn't really affecting people. They just want to show, hey, this is a strobe light. This is what's going on. One of the companies, they actually made a floor that feels like you're falling in sand. And this is something that a lot of people's like, well, I never thought of that. It makes it very interesting on the sensory systems. And that's one of the biggest things. There was a guy pushing a animatronic around, and it was an animatronic guy that it looked like his entire brain was like pulsating, and he had a trigger on the wheelchair that as soon as he hit the trigger, the guy would bend down and it would spray brain juice at you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no.
Okay. So it's kind of like a gore concert.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pat. I'm gonna go with no. So I'm gonna go with hell no. So actually, I take that back. I'm gonna go with hell fucking no. So
Headers and brain juice.
Yeah, no, thank you. But on that note, you three lovely maniacs, I'm gonna go. Good seeing y'all, except the one over there. I talked to her enough.
One thing.
Yeah, there you go. There we go. That's the yep. All right, fine. I'm leaving. If I'm not going to listen to anybody, I'll listen to myself.
Dante says thank you.
Oh yes. But seriously, everybody, just go to a con, enjoy yourself. It's kind of like the Holy Grail in Last Crusade. Choose wisely. Just have fun.
A lot out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of cons out there. Do as I've always done. Do the research. See who's going. Budget with yourself. Have fun. You only live once, and do your thing. So, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Drew.
Gary, great. Friday night, Pile, get out. Yep, call that a day.
Love you, Drew. Thank you.
No problem, no problem, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
So what he's saying is he wants to go to East Coast Haunters Convention one day, which is in Pennsylvania. That's all I heard. As long as the ticket is provided for him, right? That's all I heard.
He would need to have
to get there.
No, you'd have to provide a ride as well because he's not gonna drive there.
Well, in that case, what you're saying is I need to go to New York, grab him, bring him to Pennsylvania.
Throw him in the van.
I can use the creeper van, and I will have chocolate. That way I can be like, come here, little Drew. But no, conventions are a wonderful thing, and I'll be the first one to admit, not everybody can handle a convention, and there is differences between conventions and festivals, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, conventions are just big festivals. No, there's major differences in them. And at the end of this month, I'm supposed to be going to a Bigfoot festival. So I will absolutely make sure that I grab information from that, because Razzle Dazzle come in with me, even if I've got to put candy and say, here, rats. But yeah, so absolutely, conventions are a wonderful thing. Find a convention that would be good for you. There is woodworking conventions. There is sound and light conventions. There is conventions that help people with concerts. So these are all different things. I found out that there are gummy conventions. And yeah.
Okay. I mean, Legos, that's a big one.
Let's
Anime?
see here. Yep.
Oh yeah, anime is huge. And it sounds like the type of convention that you're going to can like from our comic book conventions to your Haunters conventions, those are completely different animals, Right. I thought that I had no idea. I was just like under the impression that it was a very similar thing. Like you had the haunted stuff and then you'd have like some celebrities in back or something. And But that, I think I was thinking more of like what a horror convention would be like than
Right.
a haunting convention.
Right. And
that was
that's there's even a paranormal convention that deals with, hey, if I want a spirit box, that's where I'm going to go. They just had one of those at the Reformatory in Ohio, which is kind of funny because Ohio Haunters convention is coming next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
is it now?
Yeah, it is. It is. And we invite every mother because it's Mother's Day weekend. That might be good. That might be bad. We don't know. But I'll tell you what.
Want to come?
Hot mothers will absolutely go to a haunted convention and look at their families and say, I want McDonald's on the way. They don't care. When you're a haunter, it is almost a die-hard thing. Kind of like comic book geeks or comic book geeks to the maximum. I mean, they will get in an argument over what issue was what. Haunters will get in an argument over who can use the most slime in a design. And when I say slime, did you know the haunted house industry is one of the number one consumers of body lube?
Wow. I did not know that.
Motion pictures for horror movies is
Did I freeze or did he freeze?
I think he froze.
Oh no.
Okay.
You're gonna have to start back to motion pictures and then say the rest of the sentence.
Oh, did we lose me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, motion pictures use body lube in the design of their monsters. If you wanted to look drooly, that's what you use. And I'll tell you that because the alien from Alien movies, when it opens its mouth, it's just got drool going. That's all body lube. When you're looking at the Predator, his blood, that is body lube that has glow sticks mixed with it.
So what you're saying is that we comic book convention people need to buy the lube for the after parties from the haunters because you guys get a deal.
Did you know they make a 330 gallon shuttle
I think
tote
that should work.
of body lube?
I think that would just about cover us all.
Oh, it will cover a lot. You might have to slip in and slip out.
I do want to emphasize to people that in most cases that is totally a joke about the sex and drinking. I mean, there are some people who do, but they do it regardless. So
right.
We don't actually have a huge orgy. Or if we do, they just don't invite me. So maybe it's a squirrel. I don't know.
We'd invite you.
At our conventions, somebody will designate one hotel a night and be like, hey, this is where we're going to have the after convention, and this is where everybody's going to meet. And people will go to that one and just go to that hotel and go to the bar and this and that. And nothing is better than seeing Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's drinking a beer. No kidding. Freddy Fazbear sits there, and I looked down and I said, hey, can I get a picture with you? He goes, yeah. Let me pull my beer down. Puts it down and goes. And I was like, oh my gosh. The picture could have been a lot better quality, but it didn't matter because I seen Freddy Fazbear chugging, I think, a Bud Light. Now, these are all handmade costumes for the most part, because it looks a lot better when the haunts take the time and make these things.
Mm-hmm. Mahana, who has been talking to us, she's a cosplayer and she makes all of her own stuff as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I would tell you, when it comes down to conventions, you have the people that want to. Yep, that is him on the show floor, not with the beer. that seriously is. But when it comes down to conventions, you have the people that are there because it's part of their job to be there to buy stuff, and once they buy stuff and they meet their amount, they leave. There are Friday, can you go back to the one picture of the trailers in the back street?
Okay, hold on one second.
Because this is actually very interesting. If you don't know conventions, not all vendors do this. Some of them will just have like a table and put their stuff, and then have like a little 4-wheel cart and then pull it right out. These haunted house conventions, this is a picture of them tearing stuff down, and if you go and you see those mannequin legs did not sell. Oh, go back to that one right there.
I think I froze this time, maybe.
No, he froze
Almost.
again because I think he's getting stormed.
Oh, okay.
Oh. I don't know what's going on my end.
You said those mannequin legs, and then...
those mannequin legs, you can buy them.
Okay.
So you've got
all
these
them
trucks
in the back here.
Yep. You have all these trucks and trailers that are getting all their stuff tore down to throw in the back of these, and these guys rent all these U-Hauls, Penske trucks, this and that. Almost none of the convention people actually have their own vehicles. They just rent them just to come to these shows. Some of them are shipped. And when I say shipped, I mean they are in giant crates that are marked this side up, do not forklift, do not do this and that. When it comes down to conventions for haunted houses, there are people that hire other companies to put their stuff together, and these guys just show up for the show to sell stuff, and then they're like, okay, well, we'll pack up what we didn't sell, and these guys come back in, tear down their stuff, and ship it back. Froggy Fog, it takes about an hour to get their stuff all packaged up and taken out. There's other booths that might take less than that, and there's some that it takes about 2 hours because you've got to Jenga all that stuff in there. So when you're going to a convention and it's a really big convention that they want you to buy stuff, understand that, you know, these items they want you to take home, or some of these items are pre-order when it comes down to this haunted house convention. And it's very interesting how people put these things together. Like Sinister Signs has nothing but pipes that come in, and they have attachments onto these pipes to attach another pipe, and that is their whole setup, and they just hang all their signs, And then once it's done, they take all the signs down and take all the pipes down, and they're out. They are up and down in about 45 minutes or less. So, yeah. I imagine comic books and stuff like that might be a little different in how they put stuff together, but these guys actually try their hardest to make their show or their showing area stand out from everybody else. You're muted.
You're muted.
Okay. I'm going to share real quick. This was at Planet Comic Con. It was the one major like horror booth that we had there. Okay. Allow. Is that up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was Toys from the Crypt. And there were a couple, I got that so I could get the number for them. But then like entering and standing on the outside of it, they had a bunch of different characters and it was super crowded, so I couldn't get all of them in. But these were some of the things that you saw as you were walking into their booth. And it was just pretty cool. So I know it's not up to speed with what you guys have going on at your haunted cons, but I thought they did a pretty good showing for what they had there, you know?
So I do believe they were at Transworld.
Oh, cool.
Because I really feel like that was one of them. And it's very interesting because you'll have in between the dark and in the Christmas, you'll have this one section that's a little brighter and you can see more stuff, and they'll have stuff like that. Which is movie stuff, this and that. I'm not going to lie.
We'll find out what he's doing.
There you go again.
I know. You said, I'm not going to lie, and then we missed the rest.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I stared at the stuff, and I really thought, I could possibly get some of this stuff. But I was like, nah, this is not what I really want. I did get a pack of cards that are limited printed cards from Butch Patrick, which is Eddie Munster. Oh, cool. And he signed one. He had a good conversation with me. And he said, we see each other. We need to sit down and have more of a better conversation. So, because he knows people that I know, and those people are in his personal life versus business life. And that's another thing that convention, when you see these people, they have a personal life and they have a business life. So don't feel bad when they're just looking at you, having a great conversation, and then you see them at the next convention and you're like, hi, do you remember me? Nope.
But if you make yourself memorable, this is something else I've learned. Carrie's con strategy is for the people that I really enjoy, like Keith Champagne, great comic book guy, giving him presents. Yes, here you go. Take care of the people, learn ahead of time if you can. And I would go on shows, or when they were on shows, I asked, what do you like to have at your booth to eat or drink? If I saw them on other people's shows, I would throw that out when they started talking about their conferences. Because, like, we have Mark Wade now, knows who I am, because we provided him with Diet Cokes throughout all of last year's Terrificon, along with a cute little Superman koozie. And I bring little gifts and stuff. You don't have to spend a lot. Like a koozie and some Diet Cokes were all it took to make Mark Wade's con, And now he's like, we aren't going to go hang out friends, but, we're professional friends, kind of. You have people who recognize. Dean hopped on a dime, and came on the show tonight. He's not gonna, like call me up and see what I'm doing next time I'm in New York, but he's a cool guy who's willing to pop in and chat. And Phil Hester, who I sent out. Oh, did we cover any of the stuff from him? Because I do want to cover it if possible, since he was kind enough to take the time.
I figured since you were coming, we could read that part.
Okay, I can pull it up to read it if you'd like. I have it over here. So we did a Q&A with Phil Hester, who is an amazing artist. And he is a featured guest frequently at cons. And that's like Dean was explaining the difference between tabling versus being a guest. Felt, and doing a lot of panels and things like that. But his replies, when we asked him some questions, what do you bring to your booth for hydration, snacks, etc.? He says that most cons are good about getting you water, but it's best not to gamble. Bring the drink of your choice. I also like to pack protein bars, nuts, etc., since sometimes you can only eat a handful at a time between visitors to your table. How many books and original artwork do you bring in? Probably too much. I tend to bring as much as I can credibly haul in. What is doing commissions and signings like? And this is something that happens a lot. I don't know if you have a similar type of thing at haunts, like if you do makeup or mask making type of things, but commissions, a lot of artists are asked to draw something and they usually have their rates and portfolios on the table for you. But he says, it's important to understand that not everyone you meet will be a diehard fan or even understand what a cartoonist is doing at the con. Be patient, have your prices listed clearly, take the time to explain to them why original art is more expensive than prints, etc. Basically, treat each person that comes to your table like a human being. Once I take a commission, I do not take payment until the customer takes delivery. If something goes awry and I wind up with their money, but they have no art, that's an incredible stain on my reputation. If they flake out and don't pay, I still have a piece of art I can sell later. In 30 plus years of tabling at cons, he's only been stiffed 2 or 3 times. And as for autographs, remember to chat with your readers. They're there as much for the interaction as the SIG. So don't feel bad if you want to go up and, like Dean was, be a person with somebody, but don't be
this.
Look for therapy. My last couple of things here with him were, how do you get everything with you safely when you're coming in from out of state, or how do you pack for local shows? And he said, like I said, as much as I can haul when flying, make sure the really precious original art stays with you as carry-on. How much time do you give yourself off during the days? Not enough. And then the last question I asked him is, what do you do at night after the con? Sleep and recharge, or get together with the other creators to hang out and do karaoke, etc.? Because seriously, this is a huge thing. Comic book cons, karaoke. Like, everybody goes to the goddamn karaoke, apparently. I don't do karaoke, but I might have to this year just to find out. But he said that he hangs out, but he's a teetotaler. So late nights aren't as hard on him, but he still likes to live well. He tries going to a unique or nice restaurant every evening with fellow pros and catching up on the gossip, recovering and reconnecting with people, and have a good time, and then sketching in his room until he collapses. So thank you, Phil, for giving us those bits of advice, because it's interesting to know how everybody does their different thing, Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah. But that's what comic book people do. We party hard. Got to do the karaoke.
I don't think I've ever seen a karaoke. I can say that Midwest, there was a group of haunters that came really close to getting kicked out of the hotel because they were having a conversation. When they were having a conversation, apparently they shut down that room at a time and no one told them. And they weren't really like, hey, you guys got to keep it down. You guys got to leave. No, they had the police. And when the police came, they're like, hey, do you know where the person is yelling at? And they're like, yelling? I don't know nothing about it. And one of the guys knew what was going on, and he's like, oh, I'll fix this. So he went to the top balcony, and he goes, woohoo, really loud. And then he went busting down a different way, and the officer went up on the balcony, and he was sitting with the friends, and security guys like, hey man, this is closed. And it's like, oh well, we didn't know. We're notorious for leaving little pumpkins everywhere, little jack-o'-lanterns. If you go to a hotel that just had a convention for haunted houses, you will find pumpkins in your plants. We are notorious for leaving little things. We want people to be interested in the haunted house industry as much as we are. So it's real easy. You just leave a little pumpkin and somebody goes, oh, I found a little pumpkin. I wonder where this came from. And you do your research. That is the way that we get people to be interested in us. We have costume balls. We have costume contests. We have special guests. And Friday, you're going to know this name. I've still not got him on the show, and I want to. And I'm working my hardest to figure out who I can talk to get Al Hops on the show. But Al Hops is someone that Transworld has do special talks. Their introduction to haunted houses, introduction to painting a mask, introduction to corpsing. These are little add-ons that you can pay for to go into this and actually do this, and they get about an hour and 10 minutes before they have to shut down, leave, and they'll cut their stuff into about 50 minutes. That way they can do questions and answers. And Alan Hops is always somebody that everybody's like, oh, you know, Alan Hops also does a haunted boot camp. That way you can learn his tactics. So having him at conventions, I met him last year, and I looked at him. And then I come to realize it's Alan Hops. And then I felt like a total idiot. But yeah, I mean, there's just some people in the haunted house industry that you really want to know. And having a name like Pile Hazard has become a great asset to me going through these conventions, because someone will see that it's me and they'll grab me and say, hey, you're honest about stuff. If I would pack this up and ship it to your house, would you use it? Yes, no, here's the reason why. And that's it's great, but you go to these conventions, when it talks about money, you got to save up thousands of dollars going to our conventions, because if you want that mask and that is a claustrophobic mask and it fits your face, that is a $400 mask to begin with. It's not cheap. There's nothing cheap in the haunted house industry except for, a little trinket keychain, which I might make them now. But
that'd be great.
I do. I've got a 3D printer that runs all my haunted house ghosts and the this and that. I mean, we ran a whole bunch of these guys for the school, and you know, but it's just one of those things that everybody is going to look at everybody's convention a little different. I would love to go to your guys' convention and just see what it is. But when it comes down to ours, it seems like it's so hardcore of, dude, you got to see this, you got to see that. And if you're an ADD, ADHD person, you want to go in a corner for about 15 minutes and then come back out and say, okay, where was I at? I was at the giant jumping spider. Okay, now I need to go there. And they make candy. There is haunted candy. There's haunted drink things, like called Tornado drink makers. These are all because haunted houses, some of them have bars. So you're going to have that. The U.S. Postal Service has a booth at haunted conventions because they want to help you get your stuff. They want to help you get your stuff sent. There's insurance. We want to help you insure your haunt. So our conventions are industry, and your conventions are not exactly industry as much as
artist and vendor.
Right.
Yeah, there's we have one guy who does. There's a couple guys who do certain things. Like there's one group, I can't remember the name. I tried looking up just now and I can't figure it out. I should have asked Drew beforehand, but it's a root beer setup. And if you buy this stein from them, like this huge, awesome stein for like $50, you then can take it with you to any other convention that they're at. And you pay a certain fee to them for each convention. I think it's like $20 and you get it refilled nonstop throughout the convention for free when you show this little pass that you paid for. So, and we have Banana Man at Terrificon, which is just this guy who dresses up in a big banana costume and then puts another costume on over it every year. Like he'll walk around shaking maracas all day, just walks the floor up and down all day being Banana Man.
We have somebody, and I can't remember his name. Scary Gary. That's who we have. We have Scary Gary. Scary Gary, you will find at conventions for haunted houses, and it's not just Midwest, not just East Coast, not just whatever. It is, he even's been down to Texas. He puts on his stuff, and he goes around and he's like, hey, how's everybody going? It's like, oh, Scary Gary. And it's like, okay, why am I missing out on the understanding of this guy? I don't know. But the pre-show, they find haunted houses to go to, let them open up. That way.
Oh, no.
Oh,
the internet hates our host.
King. If they do have enough time, they will turn on the lights and let you go through and explain how they did things, which is awesome.
So do you have a lot of panels at haunting conventions? Like you said, there's the ones you have to pay extra for, but do you have just regular, like, with the attendees?
Yes, some of them will want to show off their artwork on people's costumes and this and that. And the thing is, almost every booth that is doing makeup is doing that at their booth and showing people how they apply that type of makeup onto these characters.
Okay. See, what we do, and some of them, depending on the star of the panel, we've had ones where it costs extra to get in, but if you buy a photo op with this person, you get to go to their panel as well. But the thing that drives us crazy at Terrificon as press is that all day long, there are 2 panel rooms, the big one and the slightly smaller one, fortunately right next to our booth. And there's a panel going on every hour. There's a new panel going on in each room. So we have to have people ready with cameras. 2 people are always going to be sitting in a panel room, getting a panel filmed as long as we can get there. Then you have to have somebody at the booth, and then you have going around and doing the interviews. And then there's also, trying to enjoy yourself and have time. So you need to have for something like Terrificon, which is said is about 20,000 people, it's best if you can have at least 6 people just on duty, because you have somebody who's like, hey, I'm in the middle of filming this panel and I'm doing 2 or 3 in a row, and I need a new battery and I need an SD card. So somebody come in here and bring me those, and they have to make sure that you know how the equipment works, and that like, okay, you need the battery for camera A and an SD card for camera A. Run those in, run them out, do everything. People are on the floor checking stuff out. Somebody's manning the booth, but there have to be 2 people manning the booth, because one of the people manning the booth is the person who also runs everything to the people who need the camera and tech help. And phones, like was being said, keep them charged. That group who charges at your cons, that is fucking genius. Because if we don't have people answering their phones when we're doing stuff, we're screwed. We fuck something up and we're done. It's just, well, I mean, we're not done, but it's like, miss that panel. That was a big one. Because like I said, unless it's very specific people, they're all free. So, and there's always, and they range from like, 5 decades in comics, like Chris Claremont or something like that. What it's like doing things now and what it was like doing things back then, to just basic comic book art things and stuff like that. There will be some pop culture ones, like I did a panel with, or I filmed a panel with the guitar player from Primus, or not Primus. Maybe it was Primus. I can't remember. That's terrible of me. I don't remember what it was. There was a heavy metal guitarist that like I went to the panel for, and Michael Rooker, which the less said about him is the better. As far as like his panel was Michael Rooker. Do you know you know who I'm talking about, right?
I might.
I think he's a Walking Dead guy. He was, if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, he was the guy in blue that whistled.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
But he's also
I keep on thinking the name sounded familiar, but I was like, why the heck do I know this? And then all of a sudden you said, yeah, I know exactly who it is.
Yeah, so I had no idea. I went in to film his panel, and he moves and does not stop moving. Like, I'm set up front, I've got the camera, everything is set up so that the table is centered, ready to go. And he is running up and down the aisles, across through the chairs, and there's this other guy with one of those cameras that's on a handlebars that it steadies itself as you go, kind of thing, that's just running after him. And the man who's doing this is like 6 foot tall, 400 pounds. So I'm like trying to turn my camera and just catch him, and it's like, and I get to see this guy's back through the whole panel because he's standing right between me and Michael Rooker the entire time. So that it gets crazy.
So we don't have panels. What we have are seminars.
Okay.
That is the things that everybody's like trying to get into this person's seminar, that person's seminar, this and that, which is great to have, And if you're one of the guests that got a free booth to go, usually you guys have to find some person to do a seminar. And it's like, okay, well, this and that. OHA, that I was part of last year, they had a person doing seminar on home haunting, because Transworld is more of the industry. Midwest Haunters Convention, East Coast Haunters Convention is more of the people that are haunters and home haunters. And you still have all these great seminars, but I mean, you have, like, I'm just looking it up right now. They have a monster makeup war, and that's always very interesting to watch it, because they will actually have 2 people on a stage, and it could be more. And they are trying their hardest to make these people in the monsters as quickly as they can. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
it's a whole bunch of different stuff, you know. East Coast, no, Midwest will have they will have Six Flags there, and their ringleader character will be there. I talked to him. Me and him had a nice conversation. And that's what these people want. They want to have a nice conversation. They want to explain to you why you should take a little time and actually come to see them during their shows, or why you should buy from them versus someone else. And everybody's playing the mystery game of seeing what is going to be the next thing. Last year was a whole bunch of pumpkins. I mean, pumpkins. This year, the pumpkins kind of wavered away to some more interesting things. Someone said that next year they're thinking the flow's going to go towards Freak Show, which, you know, we've done Freak Show before, but for some reason something's kicking Freak Show back up. So we don't know. It's always a mystery game, and you always want to be in front of that curve, but what curve are you actually going to be beating? There's even haunted houses that are now 3D haunted houses. That way you can put them on the visual goggles and go through the haunted houses. That's starting to be a thing. So yeah.
That's really cool.
So I do have a question. Did we go through all the little things that Friday took so much time in making?
Nope.
We hit almost every point on them, but there was a few we missed. But I just gave up and posted them all in the group and said the hell with it.
Well, I knew when we start doing this show, it was going to be one of those shows that we were going to kick around here, kick around there, and it is very interesting because there's a lot of stuff when you go to a convention, any type of convention, you need to think about. You need to think about what you're doing, how you're getting there, and don't ever go to a convention and say, I bought my ticket and I don't know what I'm getting into. Talk to people and figure out what kind of different stuff. Breakfast places. Oh my God.
Keep talking. They can pause as they want.
What?
Oh, I think he had a moment there where the internet slowed down.
Oh, great. What I'm going to say is, if you go to St. Louis, Missouri, there are two places that come highly recommended. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what it is. Nope, you're absolutely right, gentlemen. When you say that this is worth it, and your whole convention is saying, hey, after this, are we going to go to Sugar Fire? Go to Sugar Fire. Good Lord, is that a good meal. And Snarky's for breakfast. Go to Snarky's and have breakfast sandwiches. You can stick them in your pocket, and you can go right into the convention.
If you're going to St. Louis and you're going for a haunt convention, you have to go to the Lemp Mansion to eat. It is a restaurant, and it is super haunted, and it is also a bed and breakfast type of thing. So you can have certain rooms, and they will take you on a tour of Lemp Mansion and show you like what the different rooms, who lived and died and haunts that room. But some of them are like people will be spending the night in them. And if you take a haunted tour, there's a haunted tour thing that starts, it's on foot. I went with my mom, but she like halfway through started to get worn out. So we kind of were like, hey, thanks. Sorry, we got to go. But because they were getting to where they were crossing over the interstate on bridges and stuff, and it was getting a little far away in a not so nice looking neighborhood. But while we were still at La Mansion, it is cool as shit because you get to see these old rooms and stuff, and they do like I saw a Ghostbuster there. I saw a psychic person there. They have a room you can do like kind of like those mystery dinners, only it like they have murder mystery dinner type of things that they set in there. They have cosplayers that work for them that are doing it, but it's it's a really classy old like Victorian place to eat. So totally recommend that if you're going to be in St. Louis again. Great food, amazing atmosphere, and if you sneak around and look in all the different rooms, you're just going to be like, holy shit.
And there is a major difference between St. Louis on the east side of the river and St. Louis, the Missouri side. Oh my gosh.
This is the Missouri side.
Oh my gosh, there's a major difference.
Yeah, this is on the Missouri side.
Nothing
near
better
Cherokee
than
Park.
having nothing better than having prosthetics on your head, and then you start taking them off and still got the fake blood all over your head, and you go into a gas station and people are just looking at the camera going, and the guy's like, mama, shh, mama, shh. And it's like, thanks guys. And that's where I got some. If you guys ever travel with me, I want you to know right now, if there's a refrigerator, there will be milk in it. I don't care. I will pay to have milk in that refrigerator. And I drink milk at conventions. I drink milk at anytime I'm staying in a hotel more than one night. There is milk. I just, it makes me calm, makes me feel better. Very sketchy hotel that we stayed at, but sketchy is half the fun.
I stayed at the Chase with my mom that was haunted, and I had two or three haunting things that happened there. Yeah. Well, yeah, like at one point it was 3 times. Mom was in the bathroom the first time, and I heard what sounded like furniture being like, it was a suite, so there was like, you come in and there's like the entryway stuff to put your keys and ice bucket and everything, and closets, and then you go out and there's a full living room, and she sleeps on the couch because that's just her thing. She can't, or in a chair, she just can't fall asleep in a bed. And then there's the bedroom, and then the bedroom is where the bathroom area is and stuff. So it's a pretty big fucking hotel room. And it sounded like somebody had picked up a table and flung it against the wall, and like it almost broke is how loud it was. And she'd gone into the bathroom, and I was like, I jumped up out of bed because I wasn't sleeping. I was just laying on the bed reading on my Kindle. And there was nothing there. And I'm like, maybe I misheard it. Maybe she fell in the bathroom, but that was, I'm like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, what's going on? I'm like, you didn't hear that? She's like, no. And I was like, okay. And so I told her, and she'd had weird shit happen when she was there before. Like one night she ate a dinner and sat at the table that was in her suite. And the next morning when she was getting up and cleaning things up, sitting in the chair that she had been in was some jewelry that was not hers, just like costume jewelry. But another time, on the same thing, that noise thing going on in that room happened to me 3 times. 2 of the times she was in there and she didn't hear it. But when you live in an apartment building, you get used to knowing which room something is coming from, whether it be upstairs, downstairs, across the hall, or in your apartment, and this had thicker walls in my apartment building. But 3 times I heard something get flung across the room. Every single time twice she was in there, and once she was in the other room, but she was awake and she didn't hear it any of the times. And I didn't want to wake her up the one time she was asleep, because if she slept through it, I didn't want to freak her out. But it's a cool place, man. There's a lot of haunted hotels, and that's the one that Drew and I stay at is too, but we haven't had really anything happen when we've been there. Yeah, Leo tells me, oh, you're staying at that one? It's haunted. And I was like, haunted hotels. Leo, every hotel in Norwich, Connecticut is haunted because you guys have been here for the longest that it's like been settled in America. There is no not haunted hotel here. We just have a more haunted one. Okay.
Right. So,
sorry, I totally derailed.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We're notorious for doing that on this show as much as any other show we do. So at this time, I'm going to say, hey, what we're working on, and I think Friday said that she already got posted all the things that you guys can take a little time and actually look at, just from different people's perspectives, things to really think of it. And there may or may not be in the future a book that comes out that is almost like a Al Light's Hitchhiker's Guide to Conventions. We don't know. We're notorious for coming up with stuff and making things happen. So, what I'm going to say is, Del, it's been absolutely a pleasure finally getting you on this show. When you said, yeah, that's just not my show.
What? Sorry. I get overwhelmed with a lot of doing too many shows in a week sometimes. And so.
Yeah. If you ever get bored and you're wanting to just jump in and see how things are going, you're more than welcome to come. You know that. So Friday, you did get that stuff posted. Where was that posted at so people can find it?
Guys, we have this wonderful Chainers Haunted Secrets group where I post pictures, I post links to the show, people talk. Please come have a conversation with us. Talk about haunting, see whatever news we can find and post in there. We want to hear about you as much as you want to hear from the show, and we definitely want to learn from you.
Yeah. So, Del, since you're the last guest to be on here, where can people find you if they would like to talk to you or a drunken squirrel?
Drunk as a skunk squirrel. You can find me at Carrie, Kari Sanders, on Facebook. If you see this, that is me judging you. And you found the right person. From there, all of my links are up, my Owlite stuff, my author stuff, my Splash Pages stuff. Drew, who was with us earlier tonight, is one of my other co-hosts over on Splash Pages. We do a show every Tuesday. Coming up this Tuesday, we have Tom Wen on. He joined us when we were supposed to have somebody on, and they kind of canceled the last minute. I told you Keith Champagne is one of my favorite people. He hopped on, and Dean hopped on, and Keith was like, we were like, God, it'd be funny if we could get Tom on. And he's like, oh, you want Tom? Because they're like besties. They hang out and do artwork with each other all the time. He's like, just a second. And he like cell phone calls him live on the air. And he's just like, hey, what are you doing? You're walking the dog? Yeah, when you get home, send you a link. Coming on a podcast, okay? Okay. And so wonderful people. But yeah, so it'll be technically his second appearance on Splash Pages, but really his first as far as promoting his stuff, because that just turned into a crazy show of what the fuck, but it was so much fun. It was like an Owlite show. We try to get structure going over on Splash Pages, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but that one was definitely a clusterfuck of fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Friday, where can we find you, and can you explain how people can get a hold of us? That way they can possibly be on the show, because we like talking to everyone that's in the haunted house industry, don't we?
Yes. Hi, Jar Jar, first and foremost.
Hey,
we love you, Jar Jar.
Dude, Jar Jar.
Okay. We want to talk
to get him on the show.
You can come find us in the Chainers Haunted Secrets group. Everyone is welcome there. Email us at chainershauntedSecrets@gmail.com. And then we can definitely get you on the group. We can get you on the show. And what was that haunting something? Hold on.
Dude, this show is all about haunting.
Well, that new Hollow, that Hollow.
Are you talking about your guest next time?
Yeah, haunting Hollow.
Yeah, I do believe.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh no, my brain was kind of frying that week.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get the calendar to actually pay. Why does my calendar never work on this computer? Okay, my phone is at the other house. Whoever can get a hold of the calendar for Owlite, do me a favor.
Okay.
Look up next Wednesday.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now.
I don't see it on. I see it blank, but I might not be using the same one you are.
Next week is the 18th, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait,
That
then that's James Engel.
Yeah, it is James.
Factory of Terror.
That's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's in 2 weeks. Next week is the 11th. I was like, please don't say that because otherwise I miss my dental appointment.
I do not
Okay,
have.
it did not go from my. I put it on my phone. I tried to get on Owlite. It didn't. Haunting Hollow or whatever. I will have it put up everywhere. This wonderful, amazing man that is a cowboy. This amazing cowboy hunter is going to come on, and we are going to learn about it. It's just right now my brain isn't like chiming in. And then we have Parker Levette, who's going to be on Unprinted Pages next Friday. Sorry, guys, we had to reschedule. We are going to talk about his newest addition to the Lightning War saga.
I like Parker.
Yeah, Parker Levette is awesome. Spawn of a Storm. Guys, this book is great. I am enjoying it so far. I can't wait to share it with you guys. And that one is coming out the 1st of next month. So, we have that happening. And I don't know what's happening later yet on Unprinted Pages, but we will find all sorts of fun things to do on this channel. We always do. Either that or the Dorkening. So you can find.
Yes.
And get what?
And get prepared because we're going to have, as soon as me and his schedule can work together a little bit, we're going to have a traveling haunter that goes from haunt to haunt.
Okay. I can't.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna have another Adventures of Raz and Pyle episode of like going around and doing stuff. We need to get you guys like some bouncy theme music.
Yes.
That would be fun.
So
speaking of Raz, he did do the theme song of this show. So that literally, he sang the theme song of this show. Oh, by the way, find me at Faycore. Find me at Owlite. Do not try to say Fay and Owl at the same time.
Foul.
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 You find me at Faycore. Find me at Owlite. Find me on the Dorkening. I am adorkable.
Yes, you are. And we will also be posting up, I don't know if it went up, but the things to do at a con if you are presenting a comic panel. We got some advice from John Centris, and he is a fantastic panel moderator. So if it's something you guys are thinking about doing, or Pyle, as you were saying, sometimes people have to do the seminars at yours, very similar concept, might give you some instruction onto how to organize things as best as you can.
Oh yeah, it's everything in those paragraphs is up in the slides. And I figured we'd read the interview or the person would come on.
Yes.
The one thing I do want to leave everybody with at the end of this, Adam Sandler said it the best. Okay? Man, we're going to have to wash you because you can't be the stinky kid in class. It goes for conventions too. Even though that we have different smells.
No.
And when I say smells, Froggy Fog has got, I don't know, over 12 different scents that they can pump into a fog machine. Like popcorn, woodland smell, raw sewage smell. Who the heck wanted that one? But no matter what, I'm telling you, don't let it be your actual smell. Because people will recognize you coming when they're facing a different direction.
Yes. Don't be foul, Ron.
So I hope everybody enjoyed this wonderful, very different episode of Chainer's Haunted Secrets. That was more of comic book geeking. And
sorry, we take over.
Boy, that ran off the rails really quick. I'm going to get a phone call, I swear. But no matter what, I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And I enjoyed having everybody here. It's always a pleasure having different people cross into our haunted house world. And next time I watch splash pages, I will send a message, Spider.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
I would like to thank everybody. And everybody, I got a question for you. So what haunted houses are you going to go see this season? Think about it, because Friday the 13th is coming up. 4 of them's open here in Ohio. I bet you there's more around the United States. Go see a haunted house.
Send us your flyers so we can put you in the group.
Yeah, because I'm just letting everybody know, haunted houses ain't just in September and October. We take over Christmas and everything else. So, you guys all have a great day, and don't forget to smile.
Bye, buddy.